safety, corner, receiver, or edge, safety, receiver, and corner. Many sports analysts and YouTubers such as myself have been going round and around about what is the most important asset that Dan Morgan, Dave Canellis, and the Carolina Panthers should be focusing on draft weekend. I'll explain why the Carolina Panthers need to take a safety, edge, and corner and still not be out of the second round yet. Want to find out how we can get that done and what the alternative route should be? Should we not be able to get 2 second rounds or 2 first round picks? Stay tuned to find out on Growlin' and Prowlin'. Welcome back, Prowlers. Thank you guys so much for growling with us on another edition of Growlin' and Prowlin'. Of course, you're growling with the one and only Mr. CeeLo. And guys, I must tell you, the love that I'm getting is really starting to resonate as I have a new one that has shown up and is really making his presence known. And that would be Justin West. Thank you so much, my friend, once again showing up and showing out with another comment. I think he had a couple of comments. He commented on why taking Jalon Walker does not work at edge. He says, I really like Walker, but at the same time, I like what you're saying. LOL. I'm not sure if that means you're knacking at me. But man, this draft is going to be good for us regardless, I think. I got faith in Coach Dave and Coach Dan Morgan. I like your optimism, Justin West. The only problem I have is taking an edge rusher of Jalon Walker's caliber, and I will explain what I mean by the problem with Walker is, as we've got some news that could possibly eliminate our problem. And I'll explain that later. But I do agree with the fact that Dave and Dan are on the right track, especially with free agency. I think they did a great job setting it up where we can take the best player available given that we can't trade down. But I think we all need to know that the Carolina Panthers have looked at Nick Rory, and that's who I'm hoping that they're bluffing with Jalon Walker and that the Falcons trade up, because the Falcons already have a limited amount of picks anyway. So that would be great if they could bluff the Falcons into making a drastic move to get Walker, because I'm still not sold on Walker being a exclusive pass rusher, regardless of what anybody has to say. Eric 2865 said, watch Jackson on the show, Panthers trade back and get a load. He said, watch Jackson Dart become the best QB out of this class. Just reading about him. Saw the New York Giants are interested in him. Cam Ward to the Titans, Dart to the Giants. And then he also followed up with trade back. I totally agree with you, Eric. Thank you for the comment, and welcome to the Growlin' and Prowlin' family. Right on. I don't know if Jackson Dart's going to be the best. I think that's a little bit of a stretch. I mean, you'd have to really sell me on that one, Eric. I like your comment. I just don't know. To me, Eric Jackson Dart was kind of one of those system-type quarterbacks, because when he really had to improvise at Ole Miss, I didn't see a lot of that. I mean, listen, if you can sell me on that, I'm more than willing to listen, Eric. But I love the comment. I love the feedback. Guys, if you're watching, please put a comment down there. I love the feedback. I get absolutely stoked when you guys comment. And it's not just you have to agree with what I'm saying. I want the feedback, because eventually when this platform gets to a point, I'm not just going to be sitting back here. I'm going to ask you guys to come on or do a live with me. I definitely want you guys to be a part of the program. I want you guys to be psyched like I am about what's going on. I'm just not a big fan. Sorry, Justin West. I'm not a fan of Jalen Walker. I think ultimately many of you guys know where I'm standing, and this is where I'm going to start at. I think ultimately the way the draft is rolling is we're going to have to trade back a couple of times. Now, we can't trade back too deep because there's a opportunity for us to take the 18th selection with the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks could very well, and what I'm seeing, and this is why I say I love this mock draft that I'm doing on Pro Football Sports Network, the PFSN. See, we've got right here one of these picks, and it could possibly be with teams wanting to trade up. You've got the Texans wanting to give us a second and a third with that 25th and 58th pick. That's not a good deal. Then you got the Buccaneers wanting to give up their 19th, 53rd, and their next year's second round pick. And then you've got the Seahawks wanting to give up that 18th and that 57nd. And then I think what we could do is we could take that 18th pick and possibly get Mike Green, and then take those two picks and work our way into getting Nick Eamon-Rory. Now, a lot of you guys are going to say safety's not a position that is detrimental to a great defense. Ask Baltimore that. If Kyle Hamilton wasn't on that defense last year, listen, Baltimore's defense would have been straight up garbage juice. This is a team that is struggling to get a pass rush, and this is the Ravens, y'all. Kyle Hamilton is the only thing scaring people. I keep hearing people say, we want a guy that takes the ball away. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say Xavier Watts. Get Xavier Watts. Get Xavier Watts. I like Xavier Watts. Many of you know I am a Notre Dame fan. I love Xavier Watts. But, guys, Nick Eamon-Rory is a freak. When was the last time we had a freak on the defense?
You don't have to answer that question.
I'll answer the question.
Everybody's talking about Jalen Walker's a freak. I don't see it.
You want answers?
I want the truth. You can't handle the
6'1",
truth.
240. And he plays linebacker. And he didn't run a 40. And people are going to say, oh, look at the injury. Guys, and I specifically, it's Justin West. The man is 6'3", 225 pounds, ran a 4.37 40. And he hits just as hard as Jalen Walker. But he's playing safety.
God damn!
How does that sound to you? And then here's the beauty. Now, this is going to be a little bit more difficult because my guy, the guy that I'm absolutely enamored with, in Mike Green, let's go ahead and take Seattle's pick, trade offer. I know a lot of you are going to say, why would you do that when you've got a higher pick coming through? Well, you're not guaranteed to get that back because ultimately there are a lot of people clamoring for that 8th pick. And it would not shock me if the Seattle Seahawks, when they take my pick, that they go ahead and they take someone like a Jackson Dart. I got a feeling like Wes Justin said, he's right. I think what ends up happening is that you get a guy. You're going to have a bunch of teams that are going to be out here just trading away, trying to find out if Shedeur Sanders is going to stay on the board. So, and as I said, Dart could go to the Giants. But then the question now comes is to whether or not is there going to be a team out there that is enamored enough with Shedeur Sanders, if Shedeur Sanders is still on the board. Or even Tyler Shough. As if you guys are watching the show, Tyler Shough is starting to get some serious moving. He's starting to seriously move up the draft board. And that's why I'm so concerned about whether we can get 2 or 3 trades down to about 18. Because right now, we can't afford to trade any lower than the 18th position, especially with us attempting to try to sneak out of the first round with 2 picks. But I think it's imperative if we cannot make a deal before we draft at 18, which I'm trying to manipulate right now. I think ultimately what we're going to have to do is we are going to have to see, we only gave up the 114th to get those 2 big picks. And see, like I said, Jalen Walker, see, Mike Green just went off the board to Dallas. And see, that's what I'm talking about is now here we go. We go into the 18th pick, and now we've got 2 serious picks trades that are coming. And see, we got Armand Mimbo, that's the 7th ranked player on the board. He's still sitting there. And there's been a lot of talk that we could possibly take him as Taylor Moton's successor. Don't really have a whole issue with that. You give him 1 year to sit there. You're going to get the 5th-year option. He could be a backup just in case we have a disaster like we had 2 years ago. And we had a couple of problems with it last year. That's why we were capable of bringing Brady Christensen, Cade Mays back, and even Austin Corbett. I think ultimately these guys see a culture that's being built, and that's why they came back. But that's not neither here nor there. See, we're sitting here right here at 18, and even with Armand Mimbo, the future's looking bright. But ultimately, what you have to be able to do is you got to find somebody that's going to make that deal. And a lot of people are going to say you don't need a tackle at this junction, and I get it. I totally get it. You've got 2 major needs you got to satisfy. Now, if it were me, ultimately, I got to get Nick Emanrory. There ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I got to go and get Nick Emanrory here, even if I've got Armand Mimbo sitting there on the board, because he's detrimental to what we're going to do later on. And I mean, the reality of it is, a lot of you are going to say, okay, so you said we needed an edge guy and we needed X, Y, and Z. Okay. The truth is, when you start looking at how the draft is going to go, you have to take, when you've got the 52nd, 57th, and the 74th pick, what you have to be able to do is decide. You look here, Jackson Dart went to New York. Great call with Eric, you called that. He's going to go in the 2nd round more than likely, and not surprising to me. I think ultimately what we've got to realize is that here we are at the 50th pick that we got from the Seahawks. See, we've got the 52nd, 57th, and the 74th. And see, now what we have is we've got everybody's high on Jaylen Noel. Arguably what this draft was ultimately about, what this show was ultimately about, we have to get Nick Emanrory. There are 2 other players that we trade down. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to tell you, Jaylen Noel is not that dude. Let me tell you why. I don't care what he ran in the 40. He's 5'10", 194 pounds. But there's his teammate. You know who that is? Let me show you. I like the fact that y'all are looking at Iowa State, but you're looking at the wrong receiver. How about 6'4", 214-pound Jaden Higgins, who ran a 4.46 40. Now, I'll ask y'all a question. When Bryce Young missed, he mostly missed where? Put in the comments. High, low, or wide? Y'all know where he missed. Could you imagine having a guy like Jaden Higgins to go with Coker and Leggett? 4.47, y'all. Listen, I like Noel, but he's too little. He's quick, but he's too little. I'm looking at the guy that caught 87 balls for nearly 1,200 yards. That's what I'm looking at. Not the guy that had 1,013 and 6 TDs. Now, if that's how you want to use him, that's fine. But I'm a guy that I want guys all over the field because guess what Bryce is? A distributor. We need a guy that's going to stretch the field and scare you throwing it down the field. What I mean by that is Noel's not going to be a tough guy going down the field. Higgins will be. Then you got Coker on the other side. And let's not forget the deep threat that Xavier Leggett can be. I'm not a fan of little receivers. I mean, I don't care what anybody says. I'm not a fan of little receivers. I like mine to be big. I like them big all over this field. But Higgins ain't the guy that's going to be in short supply. Remember I was telling you guys about wide receivers, safeties? We have a scarcity here at the cornerback position. That is actually our top need. And this guy right here could put Mike Jackson on the bench Maybe not this year, but definitely next season. Talking about drafting for the foreseeable future, Darian Porter's going to be a guy. I don't know why they're not moving him further up the board. This is a dude who is going to be that dude. The Iowa State Cyclones was so big at the wide receiver position. I want you to read his scouting report has changed every single week. Darian Porter is a boom or bust of a cornerback prospect as you can get in the 2025 draft. By drafting him, you're getting a moldable ball of clay with elite height, 6'2", length, and speed. He ran a 4.37, by the way, y'all. 6'2", 195, ran a 4.37. Well, did I get that wrong? Hold on, y'all. I think he was faster. Let me get that. Let me get that right. I don't want to lie on the guy. I want to make sure I got it right. But because I've been so enamored with Nick Emanroy that I know his statistics from back to front, you guys. But I don't want to do him wrong. I remember I was listening to somebody make the comment that he's arguably, like they said, oh, I'm wrong, 4.30. 4.30. A 4.3 flat, y'all. So while he's the 65th player on the board, y'all, according to PFS, this dude ain't going to stay past his second round. He ain't going to the third round. Jaden Higgins, you have a chance to because everybody's enamored with Jalen Noel's 40 time. This is the guy we got to take if we don't get a draft back. Or we don't get a high second round pick. If we stay at 57, it's imperative we take Darian Porter. And then with that 74th pick, and this is just hypothetically speaking, right now I'm sitting here with 3 draft picks in the next I've got the 50th, 52nd, and the 57th, which I will gladly, because he is in such a demand, and there is a defensive back on the board, but he's becoming a popular one. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to snatch Darian Porter up now. Because this is the guy you're going to have to get. If you can get a pick up there along the 50 to 60 range, you better snatch up Darian Porter because he is a fast, like they said, boom or bust type of player. You cannot afford to leave him on the board if he's there. You got to snatch this guy up because honestly, there are people that are going to talk about Maxwell Hairston. They're going to talk about Thomas out of Florida State. But this is that dude. That's just like Jalen Noel sitting there at 50 on the board. And I'm looking at it right now thinking about what we can do. But this is what I am going to do. Josh Connolly, the tackle out of Oregon, is sitting right smack dab right there. What you think I'm finna do? Because right now, I'm looking for another edge guy. And the only one I'm seeing right now is one that I like. Let me rephrase that. The only one I see that I like is Oladipo out of UCLA, who is a very good choice. Braden Swisson's also slipped up the board, but I'm not overjoyed about him. Since we were unable to get Mike Green, as I said, you got to get Emanroy. But going back to the Higgins and Porter argument, guys, these two guys right here, even though they're teammates at Iowa State, these are two guys we have to get. And there's another guy that I want you guys to look out for. If Jaden Higgins, because Porter's got to be snatched. This is no joking around. As you see, I'm going to take Connolly out of Oregon for the tackle position because he can learn the game in year one, and there's no risk there. But as you see Hairston went off the board, Thomas went off the board, and I imagine it's going to get to a point where Darian Porter is going to go off the board, and he's going to go off the board extremely early. This is not going to be a situation where the Panthers want to play around. They're going to want to get some things out here and get this thing done. Now, I'm not going to get Jaden Higgins. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get, because my computer is acting up. It's getting very slow, and I want to get this show. I don't want to hold this show up. I am going to take Oladipo. Because the next guy, as much as I want to take Jaden Higgins, there's another guy that is in this draft that is possibly going to be a boom or bust type of player. And many of you may have heard of him, and many of you may not have heard of him, as Jaylen Noel is still on the board. It's very conceivable we could trade back up and get this guy. But either way, we're going to go ahead and we're going to take Oladipo and see what we're left with. But as we move on, there is another wide receiver in this draft, you guys, that I absolutely am in love with, but nobody is talking about this guy. He is the same cut as Higgins, only faster. Now, I know a lot of y'all going to say a lot of you are going to say, how is that possible? Well, I can tell you this. It's not Savion Williams, who I would be okay if the Carolina Panthers got him, because there's so many of you that say get Tyler Warren because he's multidimensional. Guess what? Savion Williams is as well. And he's absolutely faster than Tyler Warren. So I would not be upset if the Panthers took Savion Williams. This is a guy that is 6'5", I think. 6'5", 220 pounds. And he was, 6'3", I'm sorry. 6'3", 222 pounds. And he ran, I think, a high 4.4 40, if I'm not mistaken. But the guy I'm looking at is a guy that ran a 4.3 40. Do you guys know who I am talking about? Do you really know who I'm talking about? Did you guys watch much Tennessee Volunteer football this year? Now, granted, this is a guy who did not have many receptions, but the 6'4", 205-pound Deontay Thornton is an explosive playmaking deep threat who can stretch the defense vertically with his elite speed. He has a chance to be one of the fastest receivers in the NFL. Played in an offense that will raise questions about his route tree and his production. He is a big play threat, having led FBS with 25.4 yards of reception and 6 touchdowns on just 26 reps. Career volume is a concern with only 65 grabs in total across 4 seasons at Oregon and Tennessee. Now, I know a lot of you are going to say, why would we want to take a guy who's unproven? Maybe it's a case of horrible usage. You got to watch Tennessee's offense, and a lot of it had to do with the fact that the Tennessee Volunteers are either all or nothing. They really play a type of offense where it's just slants, bubbles, go routes. That's really all it is, and an occasional post route. That's really all they run at the University of Tennessee. Look, if we just bring him in just to run go routes, and we get guys like Coker, Adam Thielen, and Leggett running, killing everything down the middle, that's perfectly okay with me. If it takes that safety away and it gives us an opening downfield where Leggett or Coker can leak downfield, or better yet, how about Tommy Tremble and possibly JT Sanders? All we need is somebody to stretch the D, y'all. We're not asking him to have 1,000 yards receiving. This is a guy who I think he could be a silent killer. No off-the-field issues with him. It's just questions about the system he was in. I think he could be the guy that everybody in the NFL is afraid of when they see the Carolina Panthers. And they totally forget how dangerous Jalen Coker can be, Xavier Leggett, and even the ageless wonder Adam Thielen can be. And not to mention how it would open up running lanes for the 1,000-yard rusher Chuba Hubbard. Could you imagine how dangerous this football team is? We got somebody on the field that runs a 4.3 flat. See, guys, you can't just fall in love with certain players. And I understand there are a lot of people that are going to be like, okay, well, Dan's not inviting him in. I get it. But it's my job to also let you guys know there are other guys out there that we need to be focusing on as well. And I know a lot of you are going to say, well, we're not making the decisions. Guess what? It's up to us to make noise. Any one of us that are fans of this fan base, make some noise. You guys are on the chat rooms. You guys are on the Facebook pages, Instagram pages. Make some noise. Look, maybe sometimes ownership and The GMs and the coaches get ahead of themselves. They get to the point where they're so locked into one guy and they're so married to one idea, they forget there's other options. Dante Thornton is 6'4", 205 pounds. He's about 4 or 5 inches taller than Noel. And their speed is right there. Now, granted, the production's not there. But, guys, I'm going to be honest with you. You don't want a 5'9", 5'10" guy with a quarterback that's already has a history of throwing it high. You want to give the quarterback a guy in Dante Thornton or Jaden Higgins that has an ability to go up high and get it. We got to get that out of our heads, is that it's just all about speed. When we got another guy in this draft that's got just as blistering a speed as Noel. That's what I wanted to talk to you guys about. Is there other options? Cornerback is going to be very thin. But of course, you guys know Mr. CeeLo has brought up his main man in several shows, and you guys already know who I'm going to talk about. You guys already know who I'm talking about. And that would be my bottom pick, number 204, who dropped 2 spots this week. Cornerback out of University of Texas, San Antonio, Za Frazier. The guy ran a 4.37. He's 6'2", 186 pounds. As I've said, I've read his bio before. He's only missed 2 tackles this season, as a career 5.6% missed tackle rate. A physical player who isn't afraid of taking on contact. An active run defender who can make plays in this department. And I've heard several where they say he's not. So it's kind of who you talk to. Whether this guy is active in the run game. I've heard several people say he's not, but I've heard more say he has. Maybe there's only a certain amount of plays they've watched. Every time I've ever seen him participate in tackles, he's made tackles behind the line of scrimmage. He's been very active coming up on bubble screens and making plays. He's very good at attracting the football. He's very good at tracking it. And for this reason, this guy could sit. He's going to be in the 5th round. I don't care what this right here. Is very accurate, but here it's not when it comes to Za Frazier. Za Frazier's going to be gone in the 5th round. He might even squeak into the 4th. So, Panther Nation, these are the guys that you need to think about. We keep sitting up talking about Jalen Walker, Noel. Y'all are getting enamored with what people are telling you. I get it. Jalen Walker had a good meeting, but I'm telling you right now, I would, if the Falcons trade up and make this deal. Oh, did I just say that? Rumor mill is that the Saints and is it the Bucks or the Saints? Basically, 2 division rivals are very interested in Jalen Walker. And the Falcons could trade up to get him. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you like the fact that the Falcons are willing to trade up to get him? I would love it, because it takes the decision off the table of what we should do at number 8. But I'm going to do more and more of these mocks and see where we're at, because honestly, what's really would be really disheartening is we couldn't get Mike Green and figure out a way to get back in the 1st round and get Nick Eamon-Rory. We need to get these 2 guys. Mike Green, like I said, I was listening. He's probably going to end up in the top 15. So ultimately, we're not going to be able to trade back very far. We're just going to have to hope against hope that somebody is willing to give us the farm, because they want Jackson Dart. As Eric said, alluded to earlier, and I'm hoping that's what happens, is that somebody comes in there and says, we gotta have him. We gotta have him. And they're willing to throw a king's ransom. Now, though, a lot of people are going to say, for the 8th pick, it's not just the 8th pick. It's rights to this quarterback, because now the beautiful thing is the Saints are involved with this pick too. I think the Saints are trying to talk their way into getting him, because ultimately, Jalen Walker, that is so the Falcons can trade up. I think that the real story here is the Saints are going to draft Jackson Dart. I just believe that's where they're going to go, and I believe the Steelers are going to make a move for Jalen Milroe. I think that's where they're arguably going to go. I think this is going to be a situation where I think ultimately, if the Panthers can hold still and make a move to get Mike Green, and then somehow manipulate their way back into the first round to get Nick Eman Rory, this would be a victory. In the words of Wes, yeah, absolutely. If we can get that, if we can pull that one off, that would be the win of the draft. Getting those two guys right there, because Nick Eman Rory is a freak. A straight up freak. If we get him, we go to the playoffs. I will put my money on that. We get Nick Eman Rory, I'm telling you, we go to the playoffs first year. For his rookie year. He's that good. He is that good, you guys. We go to the playoffs. But guys, let me know what you think about the whole safety, corner, tackle, edge, wideout. Let me know which ones you didn't like. I'm going to give you some serious things to think about, you guys, because as good as it looks, we need to sew up the corner and the safety. The edge, I think we're pretty good when we went with free agency. But if we get these two guys, remember, the best part of a pass rush is not giving them much space. That's what you want. That's what you want. And I think we got the guys, and then we can add somebody like Oladipo, and make this thing even better. And then there's some other guys later on in the draft that we could add. Guys like Tyler Barron, Jordan Birch, or even David Walker out of Central Arkansas. How about Powell Ryland out of Virginia Tech, who was one of the top sack artists in the country this year? Yeah. For sure. Y'all guys got to remember something. And then you got Ole Miss's Jared Ivey sliding down the chart. Sliding down it. Continuously sliding down it. He's a 6'5", 274-pound pass rusher. But let me know what you think. Are y'all still sold out on Jalen Walker, that you're willing to let a ball-hawking safety walk, or a guy like Mike Green, who could very well do the same things, walk as well? Just let me know what you think. Make sure you hit me up in the comments. Let me know what you think. If I'm talking out of my head, let me know. Make sure you let me know what you're thinking, as well as commenting and liking the show, as well as subscribing, so you can get all the updates and all of my thoughts leading up to draft day and all of the news leading up to the day of the draft. I will try to be with you guys on the day of the draft, and I have some things going on. If you guys ever closed on a house, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But looking along the lines, if you are not a member of, if you have not joined the Facebook page, make sure you go over there, Growling and Prowling, as well as joining the Growling and Prowling Facebook page of the group of the same name. Finally, go to my Instagram at Mr. CeeLo, and you can find out all the shenanigans and shows that I will be caught up in before and after the draft. I want to give a big growl out to Martin Luther King Jr., who on this day, 57 years ago, was violently taken from us. We will never forget your memory, because it is because of you that we are able to have the type of lives that we have today. The struggle still remains, but yet it is not nearly as unequal as it once was. There have been great strides made, and we're very thankful for the great Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. So grateful and thankful. He will never be forgotten. But until the next time, keep prowling the airwaves and keep growling out. Keep pounding.